Okay, we are on step 10, which asks us to turn the backpack right side out through the opening and lining. Push lining to the inside, press on outside, stitch 1/4 of an inch from the upper edge, and again 2 inches from the upper edge to form casing for the straps. So at the last step, you should have sewn around the top of your bag. Quickly before we turn this inside out, we're gonna go and check along the whole seam, inside and outside, to make sure, number one, that we've caught both layers of the bag, and number two, that there aren't any puckers, because now would be the time to take out things and re-sew that section.
What's a pucker?
Pucker is when your fabric is caught like this in the seam.
Okay.
So it's buckled over like that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to take out the whole seam if you're fixing that. You just need to take out the section that releases the weird part and then
just sew back over it.
Yes, correct. Okay, so turning inside out, we go down to this hole.
Would you backstitch on both sides if you're fixing a little spot like that?
Yes, I would. That's a good clarification. And you don't want to yank, but you're just going to gently turn it inside out. And now it wants us to put the lining inside the bag and press. And the reason we want it to press is most likely your lining's wanting to do this, which is sneak out above the top.
Yeah.
Because your outside is heavier than the lining and the outside wants to push up. So you want to be careful to go around here and make sure this is on the very edge and that the lining is to the inside. And
so are you pressing the whole bag or are you just pressing that seam?
Just the top seam, yes. So I'm gonna do this a little bit at a time. So I'll leave my iron while I get the next section ready to go. You just kind of work your way around the bag. You could also pin this if it's really flipping out on you, because the next step you will be doing will sew it in place and you won't have to worry about it flipping out anymore after.
Can you iron over a pin?
No. So you would want to
pin.
Yes,
yeah.
After.
Okay.
There is one type of pin you can iron over, but most people don't have them. And the risk of even that type is that you are ironing over metal, and so if you touched it later, it would still be hot.
Burn yourself. Yes.
It's just best to not iron over pins.
I assumed what the answer was, but I wanted to ask the expert.
We'll just pretend you're asking for everyone else.
I'm always asking for everyone else. And I'm hoping that if I have a stupid question, somebody else has it too.
Well, we say there's no stupid questions to always. So here I've got it turned to the edge. Like I said, if this wants to continue to flip out on you, pin it. Otherwise, you don't have to pin to sew these next two lines. So what it wants us to do, if you look over here at where we have those holes, it wants us to stitch a channel above and at the top and right here, so that we create a casing or a tube for our straps to go through. 1/4 of an inch is actually at the edge of your presser foot. So for me, 1/4 of an inch is actually going to go in here. I'm going to actually try and instead to continue this line here, the top. If it doesn't work, I'm actually going to sew all the way through and then take it out up to that point. But up to you. It's an aesthetic thing, not a functional thing. I might not be able to do this. It's really close to the edge. Okay, the reason I didn't backstitch is because if I come back around and lap over my stitch at the very end, it's essentially back stitching. We'll see how happy I am with this decision to stitch close to the edge when I'm done. Halfway. Okay, well this just happened, people. I am out of thread. Did you hear that?
I heard it.
Okay, I have ran out of pink thread. This is my only pink thread that I have here. Oh, what can I do? Well, here's what you can do. I still have some on my bobbin. You have to use a bobbin as the lower thread, but you can use a bobbin as the upper thread. So, because this is like, you can see it so much, if I suddenly switch to navy now, I'm not gonna like it. So I'm gonna wind a bobbin with navy so that the inside of the bag has navy stitching and the outside has pink.
Should I pause the video while you do that?
Can you pause? It'll start and stop and make a new video. Right? Or
No.
Okay, pause it then.
And we're back.
Okay, so I ran out of thread here. I'm gonna pick up a little bit behind where I ran off. And I'm just gonna hope I want enough pink thread to finish these two top stitching lines because they're very visible on the bag. And then I'm gonna switch to navy, but I don't have enough on this bobbin for the two lines around this bag, then I have to make the decision on whether I want to rip them out to resew them in navy or not, because the functionality of the bag would be in no way affected, but the aesthetics would.
You just have to decide what you can live with.
Right.
And what is completely unlivable.
Okay, so that's our first seam around the bag. That's not so bad. Okay, now I'm going to sew this one. Like, again, I'm just matching up with where I started here. So I don't know if you notice, but this is beyond my stitch plate over here on the side, so I can't see the seam allowances anymore. For me, it happens to, are you seeing this? Mm-hmm. It's beyond my stitch plate. Mm-hmm. For me, it happens to line up with where my stitch plate ends, so I have a clear mark. But if you don't, you can put a piece of tape there to say, like, this is my seam allowance. As you're doing this one, because it's deeper in, you want to feel with your right hand that the layers underneath are staying
in place.
In place.
And not bunching up towards the top?
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
So you don't make any bubbles?
Yes, correct.
You have plenty of pink thread.
Wow.
Look at that.
So much.
Oh, I thought you were back to the end.
What?
I thought you were back to the end.
I am now.
You still have plenty of thread.
Okay, that's our tube for our straps and casings. I actually don't know now if I agree with my decision to... That's pretty wide, although your strap is 1 inch wide. No, this is right.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.